doing versus being. So much of our time, myself included, is this outward, you moving energy outward from us, outward into the world. And we really should be walking around calling ourselves human doers instead of human beings. Um, and I think we sometimes get stuck in a one-way valve that we forget to take time for the experience of receiving. And I don't just mean in the typical way that we talk about that, where make sure you're taking good care of yourself and getting enough sleep and receiving love and all the things that of course are really important. But I mean, just even from the standpoint of sensation, that we often move ourselves outward in our yoga practice. For example, we have the sense of doing poses where we're creating shapes and we're moving through a process, which is beautiful. But sometimes I think the balance gets a little lost where our output is greater than our input. And I don't just mean an expenditure of energy, like are you depleted and need more rest, which is obviously something too. But I'm talking about sensation. So, how much of your practice do you allow to be perceptive instead of active? And I don't mean perception as passivity. I mean perception as activity, where we are conscious of trying to sense what it is we feel in our skin, what it is we feel in our joint spaces, all the ways we are built. Our nervous system is built with so many sections. We have lots of different ways to perceive, to have perception. We have nociception, which is like pain receptors. We have receptors that tell us where we are in space in relation to gravity, to know where our limbs are in relation to the earth, to know how much pressure we have going down into any specific joint, how much sensation we have in our skin. We have so many different types of receptors in the body. And I think we take them for granted sometimes, that we just assume that the nervous system will take care of itself, that we don't need to worry about the way we perceive, or think that we can develop more capacity for perception. So if you've ever had the experience of working with your intuition and trusting your intuition, and you might find that the more you trust it, the more it grows. And unfortunately, we are often not taught this as children, to kind of maintain our intuitive capacities. We often have to regrow them as adults. But this is part of that perceptive bandwidth that we're trying to grow within us. And in my experience, when I'm more perceptive in all the ways that one can be perceptive, my life is enriched in deep ways. And I also cultivate more presence, that the moment at hand is heightened instead of the mind taking over into the past or future. Perception happens in the now. So it's just one more tool along with all the other things we have to help us be living in the present more thoroughly. So in your practice all the time, but in particular today, can you trust your perceptive skills? Can you listen to what your body is telling you instead of just letting the mind direct? A lot of times we have these cues in our head, like I must move this way, and then I'm going to turn that way, and I'm going to lift this, and I'm going to drop that, and I'm going to open this, and I'm going to secure that. Can you have that, kind of stirring of the pot going on, but can you let really the matrix, the ground of your practice be about breath and perception? That this is really the tools that we want to cultivate, much more so than directing our femur bone in a certain place. If we can use our practice to cultivate and heighten our reception skills, we will be aided in lots of different ways. In particular, our ability to trust our intuition and to trust what we're perceiving. Sometimes you might be confused, like, am I seeing that, or am I hearing that, or is that what that person's energy is telling me? These kinds of things start to develop when we focus more on our own intuitive well-being. So go ahead and close your eyes and sit up straight and tall, and take a moment to just commit first and foremost to your to trusting, honoring, and becoming aware of your perceptions. One of the big ceptions I talk a lot about is interoception. So, this ability to perceive the inner body, whether it's I'm cold or I'm warm, or I feel full or I feel hungry, or much more refined sensations of the inner body. We can cultivate this well in our practice. So, can you commit to paying attention to these things? So, if that is your commitment for your practice, what are you feeling right now? Maybe eyes closed helps you with this. Sometimes when our eyes are closed, we have an inner looking that's greater. Sometimes not. Sometimes we need eyes open on a dristi, a fixed, soft gaze, to help us. So whatever your choice is for your outer senses, let's go ahead and drop into the inner body. First, how are you today? Just a basic question. Is there anything that immediately comes when you ask yourself that question before refining? Do you have a sense of okay or not okay? And then refine that more and more. Ask a little deeper. Is there any part of your body that wants to talk and say something? How has your breath been today? Our breath is often a great barometer for our inner states, emotional states, physical states. So, how is your breath right now? Are you able to keep it steady and slow with nice exhales? Are you breathing through your nose? Do you feel a sense of shortness of breath or breath hunger at all when you slow things down? Are you trapped up in your shoulders? Do you tend to breathe high? Do you have a lost sensation anywhere in your body? Do you need to re-find yourself? Is there a part of you that you need to welcome back into the fold? Have you exiled any part of you? If you have pain, how are you moving through that? Are you present for it? Are you trying to shy away? Are you distracting? Are you ignoring? And instead, whatever sensations you're feeling in the body, whether they, try not to pass judgment, good, not good, black or white. See if instead you can have this sense of curiosity about what your breath and body are telling you. And if you find something particular that is a little perplexing to you, either the way you're perceiving or reacting to a perception, can you help this be a guide to your intention for class? So bring your hands together at your heart for a moment and intend something for yourself. Is your intention, does it have an emotional component to it, a physical component to it, a mind component to it? And then let's go ahead and release the hands down. Before you come off your seat, ground yourself. Maybe put your hands on your thighs or on your knees. Feel the earth and allow the rebound, that sense of dropping and rising up. And then relax the breath and let's find our way onto our mat. So come to lie down. A couple of you were here yesterday in class. I recommend the class from yesterday on the website. I think I entitled it Yield, Push, Reach. So if you're doing a class library class soon, go ahead and search for that one. I think it's a really great way of helping us develop our perceptive skills. Okay, so let's go ahead and find our way onto our back. And feel a sense of coming home. So spread out your limbs, get wide, and notice even just the spaciousness in your joints. You have a nervous system that's perceiving that space. You have a lot of really cool sensory capacity in your joints to know how much pressure is on the joint, to how much space is in the joint, to know where a joint is in space. So feel into the open joints right now. If there's a joint that doesn't feel open, can you manipulate, move around until you create a little space? And let's breathe into that feeling of each joint being a little free. And in particular, if you have a joint that's troubling you, and gosh, I'd love to hear that somebody doesn't have a joint that's troubling them on some level, right? So if you have a little something, something, or a big something, something going on in a joint, go there and see what you can do to relax and feel into what's happening. Can you start to rely on your own inner wisdom for what your body needs instead of on somebody else? And you don't always know. Of course, you have to ask questions and seek help sometimes, but do you bypass your own inner referencing often? All right, and then let's start to move. So stretching different joints now, arms up overhead. Feel the sense of length. Stretch the right side, stretch the left side, and come into what this feels like. Notice the difference in sensation in your body when you're actively stretching, when your back is in a teeny bit of a back bend by having your arms overhead. And then go ahead and bring the knees into the chest and rock a little bit. Sway from side to side. Okay. Moving, breathing. And circle the knees one direction. Circle in the other. And we do this all the time. So try not to let things that we repeat over and over become rote. See if you can allow things to feel fresh and new, even if you've done a movement pattern a million times. Open up the knees wide, feel into the inner thighs and the hip joints, and just roll back and forth with the femur bones, moving in their hip joints. Check out what your pelvis feels like when you do this. Can you sense that your back moves at all? Your lumbar spine moves at all? Do you have one hip that's more free than another? Okay, let's keep the right knee into the chest, stretch left leg long, and move your ankles around. So start to wake up your feet, your shins, your calves, the outsides of your shins, all these little muscles that we rely on to act quickly when we are balancing. Balance poses provide a really big dose of sensory input into the body. All right, left knee into the chest, right leg on the floor, and roll around your ankles again. Don't forget about the bones of your feet. What do you feel when you try to wiggle your toes deeper than just the toes themselves, but the roots of the toes in the feet? What kind of sensation are you feeling? All right, and then stretch the left leg long, starfish out your body. So as you extend from your navel to your edges, does this feel good? Are there any missing links in the chain? When you feel the connection from the center of your body out through your hands, out through your feet, through your crown, your tail, is there a hidden pocket where you lose, does the river go underground a little bit and you lose sight of it? And let's just find each of those limbs for a moment so we can really pay attention and know if we have lost the surface river. So let's start with the right arm. Navel, connecting all the way through to the stretch of your right arm outward away from your center. Find that pathway through your body, move into it. Where is it missing sensation? And then hug it back in toward the center and change direction or change our limbs. So left arm, navel stretching. And notice if you kind of like turn your body to the left a little bit, do your hips shift. What kind of compensation are you working with to try to move from navel to left hand? Where do you originate that pattern from? And then hug that one back into the midline. So you're kind of plugging your joints back into space. Now, right leg. So navel stretches through the hip into the knee, down the ankle to the foot. Is there any missing link? And then hug that foot back and plug a little bit toward the center, toward the navel. And it doesn't have to be your belly button. Anywhere in the center, you feel the center to be. It could be your pelvic floor, your heart, anywhere along the midline of your torso.
And left leg, stretching from your center point, wherever you perceive center to be right now, and feel the perception of it lengthening into your leg and your foot, and then hugging that leg back into the center. And now feel it through your spine. And you might feel crown and tail moving simultaneously. So we'll kind of two become one, 2 points one. See if you can reach from your center out to the crown, to the tail, getting the length, elongation of your spine, and then feel that return and soften. So the discs become buoyant. Let's do that one more time. Navel out to the crown and tail, and then back home again. Now let's do all 6 limbs simultaneously. Let's try to make it a little less vigorous in the physicality and a little bit more vigorous in your sensation. What are you perceiving as you do this instead of what are you doing? And then draw that back in. Bring your knees to the chest. Hug in a little bit. Let your back relax. Rock a little bit. And then we're going to come over and slide over onto our side and come up onto your hands and your knees. So of course, if knees are not happy on the floor, you can always do this pose standing with your hands on a piece of furniture, back of a chair, a couch, a wall. There's always ways to change every single thing in your yoga practice. So if you're self-knowing, can't regulate, like, I don't know what to do about this joint that's hurting, just ask me. There's ways to modify every single option in our yoga practice. So try not to defer away from postures just because you feel like you can't do something. All right, let's arch and round the spine. Take your time. So remember, we're trying to perceive as a human being, a human perceptor instead of a human doer. So if you shift your reference point away from what am I doing to what am I feeling, what's changed? How has your breath changed? How is the mind looking into the body shifting? How is the awareness of what you're feeling being heightened? Can you let go of expectations of what things end up looking like? So forget about the poses. Just breathe into the movements that are at hand. Okay, so arching and rounding the spine, noticing what you feel when you do this. And then as always, let's move this pose around in any frame that you want. So go in any direction of the spine that feels good. You can go side to side, you can ripple, you can do some circles, some rotational work in the vertebrae. You can move your tail with your pelvis, you can move your shoulder blades with your ribs and your spine, you can move your head with your spine. Just see what's available to free up. And if you didn't have a goal in mind, if you didn't know we were about to do dog pose and go rolling through our postures, can you just be content with awakening your body and feeling your body just in these movement patterns? And then stretch back towards child's pose. Take the hips back toward the heels and walk the hands out in front of you. Stretch your shoulders. Remember that connection from the center of the body outward to the limbs. Try not to lose sight of your rhythm of connection. When you're ready, walk the hands over to one side of the mat and enjoy the openness of your rib cage to help your breath come deeply. So breath is such a great perception in the body. So instead of just, doing the breath, can you feel the breath? What do the lungs feel like in this posture? As we open one side up, is there a little bit more opportunity to shine a little light on what you're feeling interocepting in your lungs themselves? Come back to center and walk yourself over to the other side. Any missing links from your hand to your hip? Is there a missing is there a void anywhere of sensation? And if so, back away until you can give yourself over. A lot of times we start to get very addicted to endpoint sensation, where we have to have a deep stretch or a deep flex, or we have to work hard, or have somebody pressing on us or touching us to have sensation. Let's see if we can kind of lift up the sensation at less ranges of motion, at less intensity. Can we turn up the volume on less intense sensations? Come back to center,
Come on to all fours. Let's inhale, open the chest, reach through your heart, and then exhale and slide that shoulder down and through. Gaze toward the floor. Let the neck be relaxed and notice what the breath is doing here. How is this different from the way the breath just felt in the pose before this? Can you feel into the sensation of the rib cage in the back, the way it touches the ribs? Touches the vertebrae. And then inhale and reach that arm all the way up to the sky again and place the hand down onto the ground. Ground your hand, reach the arm up, feel the chest broaden, and then exhale and slide that shoulder down to cultivate a twist. Move the shoulders away from the ears. Can you only go as far as your sensation tells you to go? So try not to be addicted to deep sensation in the body. See if you can, it's kind of like when you don't eat sugar for a long time and a blueberry can be the sweetest thing you ever put in your mouth. Whereas if you are eating sugar, like actual sugar, suddenly a blueberry doesn't taste as sweet. So come into those, like get away from the extremes, come into the middle way of sensation. Let's go ahead and come back out of there. Hands down onto the ground, curl the toes under and lift your body up into dog pose. So here's a new sensation. We're up off the ground. We have a lot going on in our legs. So feel into this. Maybe pedal your feet. When you drop a heel, the zing that you feel in the back leg, can you modify that a little bit? Let it go a little slower, maybe slow down your rhythm if you're a big, quick heel down kind of mover. What would happen if you slowed this down and really experienced what your Achilles tendon feels like? The sole of your foot, the arches of your foot, the back of your calf, the feeling of lifting the sit bones. Even if your knees are deeply bent, widening and lifting the sit bones will broaden and stretch those hamstring fibers. Spread out the bones of your feet, and then pay attention to what the hands are doing. All 4 points of contact. Can you yield into the earth, push off the earth, and stretch through the body? Relax your head. Discover your breath. There's so much to sense, right? How could you ever get bored in dog pose? There's so much to feel here if you allow yourself to just be in the state of sensing the body. All right, it's usually our mind that takes us away. Walk your feet forward, come into Uttanasana. Spread out the bones of your feet, lift the arches. Inhale for a halfway lift. Usually it's our mind that makes us feel bored because we want racing in the head. We get fast and furious, and it's hard to slow down sometimes and just feel what's happening in the body. So the more you practice this, the more it becomes exquisite, and the sense of belonging and enjoying the sensations of your body. Open yourself up, reach back, stretch open wide, lean back if it feels good. Let's cactus open the arms and get the chest really broad. Feel a sense of a little bit of a squeeze of the shoulder blades on the back of the body, and then round in and feel those shoulder blades broaden. Tuck the chin toward the chest. Bring your hands down, palms facing up, the elbows bent. Open the hands out to the side. What are you feeling on the back side of the shoulders here? Can you open across the collarbones? Feel the yielding as you root your feet and rise through your crown. When you get into a strong pull on the shoulders, where does your breath go? And release and relax. One more time. Open the elbows or the hands wide. Exhale and relax. Arms to the sky. Take a deep breath. Roll around your wrists while you're up there. Maybe wiggle around your fingers. Notice the difference when your hands are over your head doing this, when your hands are down at your sides doing this. Spread out your hands. Reach up, lean back a little bit. And then exhale and fold forward. Relax your head. Melt the base of the skull. What are you sensing here? What does it feel like to have your head below your heart? What's feeling good? What maybe is still, a little needing of warming up? Inhale for a halfway lift. You can let your legs come straighter if you want. Your spine comes longer. Elongate the spine. Exhale and melt back down. Let's step the left foot back, right foot comes forward, put your hands on blocks if you need some height. As always, if you have weight bearing going down onto blocks, be really mindful. You know, you don't want to fall off your blocks. So the lighter we are on our blocks, the better. Be self-supporting. Extend through your crown, start to enliven some muscular strength in the body. The core is engaged, the inner thighs hug in. Feel the extension through your crown all the way through to the back foot. Navel to those edges. So what does it feel like now to take the navel to the crown, to the back foot? Okay, rise up, crescent lunge. Put your arms anywhere that gives you freedom. So if you are a really high breather, if you tend to have a lot of tension patterns where your breath is up in your neck and shoulders, sometimes bringing your arms over your head is just going to facilitate a not such great healthy rhythm for you. So maybe your practice is all about relaxing the shoulders down and getting a little bit more space. So whatever is going to give you space, breath, that sense that you can relax into your sensations instead of having to be a doer. Take away your striving just a little bit. Let your striving be more about focusing on your sensation. Put the power of your intensity, of your focus into feeling instead of doing. Release your hands down, excuse me, onto the ground and step back to a plank. Hands are underneath your shoulders. Stretch your heels back, integrate to the center. This is a very strong pose. So when you start to get to the intensity of a strong posture, where does your ability to stop being a doer and start being a feeler balance out? This isn't to say that we don't want strength. Of course we need strength. Be self-supporting. But can you let the actions of perception be as balanced as the actions of doing? Go ahead and relax. Come down onto the ground. Come onto your belly. Move your shoulders back. Okay. See if you can get the sense that the shoulder blades can move toward each other on the back a bit. Engage your core. Rise up to cobra pose. Open the chest. What does this feel like? Exhale and melt back down. See if you can go maybe a little bit lower than your super cobra, right? So maybe back away and feel into the length of the spine, the support of the lumbar spine, the strength of your legs. And then release and melt back down. One more time, shoulder blades down. Find the breath. Exhale and release. Find the floor for just a moment. Relax down. Sometimes we forget to feel our bellies. So with your belly down on the ground, can you relax first of all? And if you have trouble, pick up your feet. Sometimes it helps your back relax a little bit. Can you feel your belly drop into the earth? Can you give yourself over to the belly breath? All right, and then come up onto all fours and swirl things around a little bit. Loosen things up. And then find your way back to dog pose again. Stretch through your spine, breathe, melt the face. Let the skin on your face release away from your bones. Let the brain rest in your bones. Feel the integrity of yielding, of root to rise, to reach. All right, let's bring our left foot forward and come to a lunge on this side. Hands coming down onto blocks or the floor, whichever feels good. Bend your knee as much as you want to. Extend the spine. So a lot of times when we're in this pose, we can feel the back body extend. You know, we might feel the back sweep of the sacrum, the back of the head. See if you can feel the center of the body spread long as well. Hug to the inner thighs, to the midline. Be self-supporting. Less weight on the blocks. Use your legs, root them. And then as you're ready, let's rise up and choose any variation of your arms that gives you the greatest capacity for easy breathing. So if you tend to be really bound, if you are always going, a lot of times that starts showing up with, our ears up at our shoulders. So choose a posture that's giving you a sense of ease. That heightened ease helps you perceive more. If you're bound and, racing, it's much harder to perceive beyond the heightened stress response. So go underneath that. See if you can relax enough to go underneath the stress sensations. How's the breath? All right, walk your back foot forward. Come into Tadasana. Palms at your heart. Pause here for a moment. Close your eyes. Let's start to feel into the weight of your right foot and just pick your left knee up in the air. So a little bit of balance. Soften your arms, relax them out to the side so the shoulders drop down. Turn your left knee out a little bit and just start to squat the teeniest bit. So you don't have to go deep, but just see if you can let this feeling drop you into your pelvis a little bit more. Bend your elbows if you want. Put a little weight in your hands. Let your body weight go low. So much of the time when we balance, we rise up. So let yourself go down just a little bit more. How's your breath? And then rise up, bringing the arms back up, straighten that leg, and place your foot down onto the ground. Tadasana. Close your eyes for a moment. Put your hands low on your belly so you can feel the belly breath. Of course, your breath isn't going into your belly, but we want to relax enough for our deep, low abdomen to be soft and receptive. If we're cultivating receptivity in the body, the center of our body, our soft body, is a great playing place to feel into perception. Feel your breath touch into your hands. Is your diaphragm locked up at all? What can you loosen? Can you soften your knees? Feel into your yielding. And then release the hands. We're going to stand on our left leg ground. So when we have a little bit of give in the knee, instead of pushing and locking and straightening, we have a little bit more capacity to feel the support of the earth. So as you bring your right knee up, micro bend your left knee so you can feel the earth below your foot, push off the earth to reach through your spine. Have the balance of the down and the up. When you're ready, bring your arms out to the side or wherever you want. Turn your knee out. So we're not going all the way to a figure four or to tree pose, but that sense that we're externally rotating a little bit and then drop into the little bit of bend of your left knee. See what it feels like to drop your body weight low. Okay, so don't worry about how far you go. Make sure you're having the balance of root to rise. So we don't want to collapse. We're not collapsing into the earth, but we're also not propping ourselves away. Are you looking at something softly? Okay, and then rise up, straighten that standing leg, reach the arms, hands down, fold forward. Reach into the length of your spine, bobble your head and relax. Halfway lift, the spine is growing. Exhale and melt. Step the left foot back. So go into a shorter stance here. Parsvottanasana legs. Press the right foot, big toe mound into the ground and reach that other hip back. So once you find the doings, like the things you have to do to kind of place yourself in space well, then perceive. Root your feet down. Widen the sit bones and see what that feels like. Can you have the belly breath now, or has the breath returned up high in your neck and shoulders? Feel the extension from your navel to your crown and tail, from your navel to both your feet. Great. And then we're going to bend into that knee, come up and stand on it for half splits. Engage the leg in the air. So some active movement in your muscles. You can pulse a couple times or just leave the leg up there. Try not to let the leg fall. Activate the back body. Support with the front. Feel the reach, navel to crown and tail, navel into hands and feet. All right, take a deep breath in, extend. As you exhale, tuck your knee behind your knee, one-legged bend again. See how your knee joint likes this. Perceive
And then push off the floor, feel into your glutes working hard, stretch that leg straight again. Place your foot down onto the ground and step your right foot back. Left foot is now forward. Shorten up your stance, Parsvottanasana legs. Your left foot can come out to the left as much as you need to. Hands are on blocks, and remember, you can stack up blocks to get more height. You can put your hands on furniture. You can keep your hands on your hips. So find the work in the posture. Try not to give all your weight to the blocks. Remember, we're self-supporting. We're so light on the blocks. Have a lot of weight coming down into your feet, especially your front big toe. Move that hip back. Widen the sit bones, but keep the femur bone of that front leg from popping out. So a lot of times we kind of hike the hip out to the side. Keep the hip in. Navel to crown and tail. Navel to feet. All right, now from here, let's bend into that front knee. Go slow so you can feel when you take the weight into that foot and then rebound into a straight leg with your other leg in the air. Extend through the spine. So feel all the structural support around your hip. So many muscles, your glutes, they're so active in this pose. The leg in the air, do you want to pulse it a couple times to make sure your glutes are working on that side too? Navel to crown and tail, navel to feet and hands. And then tuck in, knee behind knee. Feel into the bottom of your foot. How's your breath? Soften the shoulders. And then let's push off, extending the spine. Place your foot down next to the other one, Uttanasana. Inhale, rise up, arms coming to the sky. You know, if you're down on the ground for a while and you come up and you get dizzy, remember to squeeze to your midline to help your blood pressure kick back up again. And let's pause here for a moment. Deep breaths. Lift your arms to the sky, open the breath. Exhale and fold. Bend your knees. Halfway lift. Then we're going to take the left foot back again. Right foot is forward. Still Parsvottanasana legs. Rise all the way up. Whoa. If you need to take your front foot out to the side more, do that. So whatever you need to have stability, and sometimes a wider stance is better for stability. Reach the arm up in the air, the left arm up in the air, extend through the spine, come forward and bring the hand down onto the block. You can even stack one block over the other if you want. Draw the hip back, stay rooted in the big toe mound and start to twist open. Shoulder blades moving down the back. Find the twist. What are you sensing in the body? Can you keep that hip hugged in? Wide sit bones. So anytime I throw out an alignment cue, let it be something that you perceive. So if you have an action in the body, what does the action feel like? So instead of just directing, move my femur bone back. What does it feel like when your femur bone draws back? Let yourself be guided by your sensations and your breath. Are you grounding both feet, navel to feet? Navel to crown and tail, navel to hands. And then release your hand down. Walk your back foot forward, fold in half. Rise up halfway, feel the spine grow. Step your right foot back, short stance. Left foot out to the left as much as you need to. Have as much stacking of blocks or props underneath for your right hand as you will need to. Rise up. Take a breath. Reach that right arm into the air. Have your hand on your hip to support where you are. Can you feel the grounding? Can you drop your feet? Feel the breath. Extend forward. Place your hand on whatever support you just cultivated. So I had 2 blocks. Maybe you have 1. Inner spiral of the thighs. Sit bones wide. Try not to hike the hip out to the side. So let that left hip stay in line with the toes. Soft bend in that knee. Navel to your edges. Find your breath. Go where your breath takes you and not before. Are you coloring in from the inside out? So is anywhere of the river from your navel to your edges, did you lose sight? See if you can find the energy rhythms from your center outward to all your limbs.
How is your breath? Are you traveling only where the breath will take you? What feels good? What are you enjoying about the sensations of this pose? All right, and then release your hands back down onto the ground. Step back to dog pose. Enjoy. Root your hands, rise up through your pelvis. Deep breaths. Maybe you want your feet wider. See what feels good. When you take your feet wider, so everybody take your feet wider, and just notice what changed in your sensation, especially in your pelvis and your low belly. How did your breath shift? Okay, let's come forward into a plank. Put your feet in a comfortable place. As you hold yourself steady, try not to only go to the end point of sensation of flex, of grip, of tense. See if you can feel ease embedded in there. Okay, put your knees down onto the ground and lower yourself all the way to the floor. Take your arms back next to your sides, palms facing the floor, and then bring your hands out. So put the palms on the ground and then slide your hands out so your elbows are at right angles. Draw the shoulder blades down the back. Engage through your core. Inhale and lift up through your spine here. Feel the back edge of your shoulder blades. Exhale and melt, coming back down. Come up onto your hands and your knees. Swirl things around. Move around in any way that's very soothing to the spine. How is your breath? All right, let's go ahead and find our way back to dog pose. Deep breath in and away. All right, let's go ahead and walk your feet forward. Come into Uttanasana. Bend your knees and slide on up. Take your feet, turn sideways on your mat and come wide. Find your breath. Take your arms open again. Elbows down, palms facing up. Feel the back side of your shoulders. Find your breath. Let this be opening for your chest, just like stretching your arms out might be, but a little bit dropped so that your neck is not up in your ear, or your shoulders are not up in your ears. Find the breath, turn both your feet out, and find your way down to goddess pose. So keep your arms here for a moment. We're going to do some different movement patterns in a moment. So everything we just did standing poses was one-sided, and now we have symmetry and a sense of bilateral nature in our pelvis. Feel into that. What does it feel like in the pelvic bowl? How about the work of the outer hip muscles? Find the open chest. Now lift your arms anywhere you want them to be. They can come up. You can relax and shake your arms out. You can bring them straight out to the sides. Feel the open heart no matter where you go. Don't worry about how deep into the bend you go. Go where your body is comfortable. Drop some weight into your feet. Rise up through your crown. All right, and then come up to stand. Straighten your legs and turn your feet and heel toe them in, coming to stand in Tadasana. Drop weight into your right foot, back into a balanced posture we go. Now we're going to go a little deeper into that angle work we did earlier. So as you rotate open the hip, we're going to put your foot on your knee now. And you get to decide how far you go. And perhaps you'd rather do tree pose. That's always an option. Put your arms anywhere you feel good. Drop weight back into your sit bones. If you need to hold on to something, grab a piece of furniture, wide sit bones, feel the low base of support. Breathe deeply. Navel to all your edges. Relax the shoulders. And then come on up. Knee lifts to the sky. Maybe the arms come up in the air. Place that foot down onto the ground. Pause with Tadasana. Have your 2 feet, your hands down. Take a deep breath and feel your knees soften a bit. Feel that low belly breath. Gather the weight of you into the earth. Feel into your yielding. Let's sink our weight into our left foot. Maybe you're doing tree pose. Maybe you're doing figure four pose. If you're moving into figure four, same thing as we did in revolved triangle pose. Try not to let your hip hike out to the side. Compact the hips toward the midline and widen the sit bones instead. Feel the crown grow. Where do you want your arms? Do you want them extended? Does that give you the sensation of feeling into the body well? Or would you rather have them a little softer? Can you root to rise? Let the downward nature of the pose give you a low center of gravity. And from there, rise outward from your navel to your edges, wherever those are landing right now. How's the breath serving your sensation? All right, let's come on out of there. Knee lifts up, reaching the arms to the sky again. Place your foot down onto the ground and fold in half. Last pass through, come to plank. Finding the breath here. We're gonna come down onto the ground however you see fit. So you can come into chaturanga and then come into up dog. You can put your knees down and come all the way to the ground. For any variation of a symmetrical back bend where you feel integrity in your pelvis, core supporting you. And then relax. Come onto your hands and your knees. And we're going to find Vasisthasana. So right hand on the ground, right knee on the ground, left foot on the ground. Of course, if you want to do a different variation of Vasisthasana, go for it. So maybe you want 2 feet on the ground instead. Maybe you want the top foot, however, all the variations that exist. Move the shoulders and spread open from your heart to your hands. Feel the extension through your spine. Breathe into what you're feeling. And then relax and melt. We're going to come onto the other side. Left hand, left feet, or left knee and right foot, whatever feels best. Go ahead and find your way into a supported Vasisthasana. If you have 2 feet on the ground, that's a lot more intensity for your shoulder to support yourself and your wrist than if your knee's down. So if you know you're struggling with a shoulder issue, take your knee down onto the ground. Find your breath. Can you feel that extension from your center to your edges? Can you feel the heart stretch open to the hands? And then relax and melt back down. Come into child's pose for a moment, knees close or far, whichever feels delightful. When you're in a resting posture, is it easier for you to sense than when you're in an active posture? There's all these different qualities. Sometimes when we're in active postures, we feel our muscles a lot more, kind of the juice that we have to send to our muscles. But what about the other ways you perceive your body instead of just muscular strength and stability? How about the way your breath travels through your body? How about any form of, sensation that you have in your joint spaces? When you listen to your body, when you're in your body, it's a beautiful way to be. You're here right now. The body lives in the moment. Of course, the body stores a lot from the past, but truly, the more we pay attention to sensations, the more we are here. Okay, let's come out of that. I'm going to give you 2 choices. You can either do heart bench on 2 blocks, or if you want to do a different kind of back bend, you can roll 1 or 2 blankets into a circular roll to do a back bend over. So much of the time during the day, especially if you spend a lot of time on a computer, we get so in our minds throughout the day, whatever we're working on, we can start collapse. And next thing you know, we're hunched over and forgetting that we have a body and we're just living in the bubble of our brain. So what can you do to counteract that with a little bit of a back bend here? So either 2 blocks, 1 underneath the base of your skull and 1 in between your shoulder blades for heart bench, or put a rolled blanket in between your shoulder blades somewhere. So however
you feel most supported to do a restorative back bend. You can choose your placement of whatever prop you're using and then decide where you want your arms to be, decide where you want your legs to be. And let's rest here. And just because you chose something now doesn't mean it can't dynamically change. Perhaps you want a different movement pattern with your arms or legs as you are here. But try to let the whatever you're choosing to be in your body, if you're making a change, make it come from you what you're wanting to explore a sensation in the body, not just because your mind's bored of being where you are. A lot of times we want to get out of something because our minds are bored. So give your mind a task, let it feel. The mind is absolutely living in every cell of your body when you are in sensation. How is the breath? How does it feel to breathe in? How does it feel to breathe out? What is resting on the floor? Is there sensation of your relationship with where you're touching? How is the temperature of your body? How are the joint spaces in your body? Do you feel supported or are you self supporting in different places in your body? And probably the best thing you can do to feel is just explore your breath. Sometimes in your practice, it's good to have, like a journey toward an apex posture where you're opening your body in a direction to seek openness. Sometimes, like a practice today, it's better not to have a directional theme to where you're going in your asana and instead just let yourself sink into the matrix of sensation. The more we train ourselves to feel, it's like playing an instrument. If you just practice, practice, practice the chords, then suddenly the freedom to explore any rhythm of music you want is there. We have to build the matrix. We have to build the ground. Let's come out of the posture when you're ready and take any postures you need for a comfortable shavasana. So if you like to end your practice with a twist, or if you like to end your practice with a happy baby, kind of countering the back bend you just did, whatever, take this last moment or two to trust. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Trust. If you ask your body, what do you need right now? Ask your body, what do you need? And whatever answer comes, follow. So let your intuition tell you the pathway of how to move your body next. So just because we're getting to the end doesn't mean it's time for the mind to pick up the pace, right? It's even more important for us to now rest in our sensations. So as you find Shavasana, and there's no rush. If you want to do a whole bunch of postures, then do a whole bunch of postures. If you're ready to rest in stillness, stillness is a whole world. It's like a pond, it can seem still on the surface, but there's a whole world of life going on under the water. So as you find your Shavasana, can you feel into both the deep stillness of restfulness, but also the incredible amount of sensation that is had just by being still? Explore how the breath feels moving in and out. Where does the breath touch in your body?
What shape change happens in your spine or in your shoulders or in your pelvis when you breathe in and out? When you consciously allow your head to rest down, your limbs to rest down, what sensation changes when you give yourself over to that weight? Can you let your skin relax? And what does this feel like? Let's begin to deepen our breathing again. As you cue up your awareness of the outside world, can you hold the experience of your inner sensation? Can you learn to balance an awareness of your inner self even as you move through the world? So let's start moving little bits through the world, maybe swaying your head side to side or moving your hands and feet. And then let's find our way Coming onto your side as you're ready. There's no rush. As you're ready, find a seat. Can you discover your breath moving through you? Can you learn to open up to any sensation or uncomfortable or neutral? Open our hearts, minds, and bodies to another. Send your energy forth, offering your practice as a gift to another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful day.